Yes, it is Free Talk Live. It is the Sunday night edition. Sunday. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
That's my favorite one. I love it when he does that.
603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160.
What are you supposed to do with that information?
Well, there's this device called a telephone.
Oh.
And then...
The phone.
Yes, boss, it's the phone. Anyway, if you would like to place a phone call
your operator
it's going
first?
to ask you for digits of the destination in which you would like to have your phone call go to. And then you would enter 603-283-6160. And that would end up on the studio line here at Free Talk Live. So if you wanted to have your voice heard by somewhere around a couple hundred radio stations, why, that's what you would do.
Millions of people.
So, I suggest this to people all the time. There seems to be a bit of, I guess I'll call it radio reluctance in the world. People get nervous as if they're about to be on stage, for example.
Yes.
Because they're like, oh my gosh, my voice is going to be heard on hundreds of radio. And they get, butterflies in the stomach, a little stage fright, that kind of thing. So, I realize that some folks might have that, but fight through it. If you want to get your voice heard and you have something to say, give us a call, 603-283-6160, and you can get it out. Let it out, because if you keep it bottled up inside, that's not good for your mental health.
Just pretend like you're just talking to us here in the studio.
Yes. And, of course, in the studio tonight, I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
I'm Nikki Sunshine.
Richie Rich.
We've got lots of fun things to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Something about a ninja and an airfield. Something about Kramer from Seinfeld. We've got something about Emperor Biden. We've got something about going postal.
Ooh.
We got something about women suing men over unwanted pregnancies.
I thought they already could do that. Isn't that just child support?
Well, we might get to that. We'll see. Also, something about health workers, anti-vax spouses, and they're facing a surcharge in Louisiana.
And if you call in, we will get to none of these stories.
In fact, I think this is the same thing that one of us already brought in, where, we'll get to that if time allows us to. It is important to me to point out when somebody has been on this show for some sort of period of time, and that would be Nikki Sunshine. I believe it is your 1 year.
It is. It is my 1 year anniversary. This is the first time I ever stepped foot in this studio 1 year ago today. So,
nice.
Yeah, I actually, when I came here, I had no clue what Free Talk Live was.
Really?
Oh, okay.
No, never heard of it.
So this is not your on-air anniversary?
No. This was just the first time I had come up to New Hampshire or came up to Keene.
That's interesting. I wonder, I think you're in the minority of people who, when they come here, they kind of already have an idea of what's going on here.
Yeah, it seemed like everybody else kind of already knew what it was, but I was,
Well, welcome.
Hidden away.
And thank you for, of course, being here as long as you have and contributing to the show. Of course, your perspective is welcome. There's always this, I don't know if it's a stigma, but there's something that kind of goes round in the liberty community, and that is that it's a bratfest.
Yeah.
That it's a male-dominated area of life. The thoughts of libertarians and anarchists and freedom-oriented people are mostly male. And, I don't really necessarily agree with that.
Okay, I do. It's true, statistically.
I think maybe it used to be more so, and now a lot more women are kind of coming around to the ideas of freedom and liberty, and a lot more women are migrating to New Hampshire.
And that is kind of the point that I wished to make, which is, you're here on the show. And so, if you're out there in listener land and you think that, that's not something women can, no, it's totally something women could and should do.
Well, because Free Talk Live is a very progressive show in that respect.
Compared to other shows.
Compared to others.
Yeah, by a long shot.
It is not dominated by, a single host. There's a rotating cast.
Yep.
And just about anyone with, no offense, but like minimal qualifications, I can be like, can I be on the show? I'm like, sure. Like, let's see what you got. And then you get a shot at it. So,
oh, can you talk? Yep, I can. Okay, great.
Right.
Let's put you in a seat, see how you do.
But you got to be here, and you got to come to the studio, or you can call in and, see what you got there. But it's, there's no restrictions pretty much on who can get on and what you can say once you do get on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that, we have several female hosts and co-hosts and that kind of a thing.
That's my point.
Because it is, not gender specific. Freedom
Male,
is for
female,
everybody.
In between, doesn't matter here.
Freedom is for everybody. If you're a human being, freedom is for you. In my opinion, it's how all people should, focus their lives or spend their lives, is making sure that they are as free as possible. Because if somebody else is restricting you, or if somebody else is taking your money, or if somebody else is making you behave in a way that you didn't consent to, why, that kind of makes you their slave.
Yep.
Not kind of. That's
okay.
The definition.
That makes you their slave for whatever that piece of your life is. And that should be alarming to everybody who thinks that they are about freedom. I know there's a lot of people in the world, in the United States specifically, who will get behind the rally cries and the patriotism surrounding United States of America and land of the free and all that kind of stuff. And I beg you to take a much deeper dive, a much better look at the state of freedom and whether or not the country, the government of the country, represents that for you. Because if you do, the evidence is overwhelming. Now, I can't force you to take a deeper look. I can't tell you, what evidence. I can tell you what evidence to look at, of course. That's what we do here all the time on Free Talk Live. But you have to make your own decision ultimately. But take an open-minded look. What is the outcome of this thing called government? Is it more freedom for you, more freedom for your children, your family? Is it more freedom for your neighbors? Is it more freedom for your community? Is it more free, or is it more oppression?
Well, if you're talking about the government, if you're talking about freedom specifically, it's always less freedom if the government is quote unquote representing you. Right. The real problem is, like, freedom is a value not shared by the vast majority of normal people.
Right. Most people would give up freedom to have safety.
Right.
Which is the antithesis of freedom.
So if you're a lover of freedom, right, you cannot surround yourself by those who don't.
Right.
Because you will always be outnumbered, you will always be outvoted, and your government will reflect that with more and more tyrannical measures and oppression.
And not even just that. I mean, it's bad for your mental health. I mean, I'm from Massachusetts, where it's,
sorry to hear that,
especially like in my age range, like millennial aged people, a lot of them are liberals. A lot of the people I went to high school with were liberal. A lot of like my friends at the time were liberals. And I just felt like, man, like, am I the only one that feels this way? Because I've always been an anarchist since I was a young, like, little kid, like, as long as I can remember. I've always not trusted the government, not trusted the state. And I just kind of felt alone in that sense. I'm like, nobody feels the same way that I do. And then I started coming up to New Hampshire more, and I started making friends in New Hampshire. And for the first time in my life, I was like, whoa, there are hundreds of people that feel the exact same way that I do. And it was just really refreshing.
I feel the exact same way that you did when I was in Seattle, right? I spent a lot of time being not political. I ignored politics for most of my life, like almost completely. Whenever some political guy, whoever it is, senator, president, congressman, whatever, appeared on TV, I'd be like, change the channel. Let's watch something, entertaining.
Yeah. Life is short, man. You don't have to watch that stuff.
And these people, these politicians always felt creepy to me, like used car salesmen creepy.
Yeah.
Right? And no offense to used car salesmen who are on the up and up and
they provide
doing
a valuable
work.
service for a lot of people.
They do. So, but like, in that stereotypical sense, like something is off about these people. It turns out like I thought I was alone and everything, but no, I was just correct.
Yep.
But not surrounded by people who also held the same beliefs as I did. And then I was like, wait, oh, it's not just me? Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
603-283-6160. How did you come to the thoughts of freedom? You are listening to Free Talk Live. We're a live radio call-in talk program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is on your mind. It's called Free Talk Live for that
Otherwise,
reason.
we just talk about nothing.
Much like Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Nothing
Right,
and
show
everything
about nothing.
all at the same time.
It's very...
The telephone number is 603-283-6160 if you would like to join us. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Rich.
And then out of nowhere, a ninja suddenly appeared.
A sword-wielding ninja.
Oh, sorry, my bad. And then, out of nowhere, a sword-wielding man dressed in a full ninja outfit.
So, before we get into this article, I'm going to share an anecdote about ninjas very briefly.
Okay.
It's like one of my many claims.
Before you share your anecdote,
okay. Go ahead.
I want to tell you that I am a fan of ninjutsu. And I have been since I was like 8 years old.
Okay.
What is that?
There was a television show called The Master in like, I don't know, 84 or something. And it starred like Lee Van Cleef as like the ninja master. And then it had this guy named Sho Kosugi, who is one of the best martial arts stuntmen who has ever graced the planet. If you've seen a martial arts movie that has done well in the theaters, I guarantee you Sho Kosugi was likely in it as one of the stunt actors or choreographers of all the martial arts scenes. He was that good. And so anyway, Sho Kosugi played, sort of the bad guy ninja, and then Lee Van Cleef was sort of the good guy ninja, and they went to ninja school together, so they were like, anyway. So I got infatuated with that through, I think it was, it's the magazine where on the back you can order like mercenaries and stuff.
Guns and Ammo?
It's one of those. It wasn't Guns and Ammo, but something like that.
Karate?
Like, no, it was like... Oh. It was a gun-oriented magazine. Anyway, in that magazine in the back, there was like, you could order a book on how to be a ninja, right? And it was written by a guy named Stephen K. Hayes, Hayes. And he became the United States' foremost authority on ninjutsu. And it turns out that ninjutsu isn't much different from other martial arts, right? It's not just like guys in masks and like being mercenaries and stuff. It's actually an art within itself. And so... I went to this ninja seminar, as they say. They didn't say ninja. They said ninja in the commercials for this seminar. I went to this thing, and I was 13 or something, So I wasn't very... And, like, I didn't really get to participate much because, like, if you were under 18, they wouldn't let you, like, hold the sword. I had to hold, like, the wooden katana instead of, like, the actual sword. And, Anyway, I didn't get to have as much fun as I thought I would. But within that... there was also a book written by Ashita Kim that was published on Paladin Press. Now, Paladin Press is famous for publishing things like, I believe they published an edition of the Anarchist Cookbook back in the day. Like, publications that you can't, like, go check out at the local library or that were otherwise frowned upon by local bookstores and stuff. Paladin Press would publish these things. And that's how I found out about Paladin Press and discovered a bunch of other publications that weren't related to ninjutsu at all. But, through this publishing company, I became familiar with at least titles from other companies. So all that being said, I have this fascination with ninjas and ninjutsu. I've seen all the ninja films and Enter the Ninja, Return of the Ninja, The Night of the Living Ninja, whatever it is, right? All that kind of stuff. So I'm very infatuated by this story that you brought in, Richie Rich, because the headline reads, sword-wielding man dressed in full ninja garb injures 2 U.S. Special Ops troops in midnight attack at California airfield. So before we get into that, that's the headline. You had an anecdote, though.
I did, but I'll be brief so we can get into the article. I once scared a ninja, and I'll just leave it at that.
How did you scare a ninja?
Do you really want to hear the story?
Well, I mean, you brought it up.
I
Is
did.
it worth hearing?
I thought so
Okay,
at the time.
Then let's hear it.
So I was, we were doing a thing at a hotel, and we were just like meandering about the hotel. And then we decided, hotels have the little benches outside the rooms you can just sit and rest at. So I was with my buddy, and we just decided to take a break, sitting in the hotel on the bench outside the hotel room. And all of a sudden, the door bursts open. A ninja comes flying out the door, starts doing like all the ninja like martial arts store like in the hallway of the hotel. And then I was like, holy cow, dude, a ninja. Except, I didn't say holy cow, right? And the ninja got startled by my presence there and literally turned around and said we shouldn't be sneaking up on people. A ninja told us we shouldn't be sneaking up on people.
That's hilarious. Do you have a ninja story, Nikki? Have you ever been?
I don't think so.
You ever seen a ninja live?
I pretend to be a ninja sometimes.
And so when I was, a young boy, and obviously I'm infatuated with this ninjutsu thing, me and my brother used to play. We would get dressed up as if we were ninjas.
Tie the T-shirt around your face?
Tie the T-shirt around the face and over the head. We would run around in the backyards of our neighborhood and, lie down in between trees so, a cursory inspection, you couldn't see us. And, the parental units would come out and be like, hey, where are you guys? It's time for dinner or whatever, right? And we'd just, lay there and they couldn't see us. We're like, ha, 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 ha. So anyway,
real ninjas.
Yeah,
real ninjas. I think mine was real ninja, full on garb and everything, and doing the martial arts stuff in the middle of the hallway, just after bursting out of a hotel room. So sword wielding man, full ninja garb. A man suited up in ninja gear launched a daring nighttime assault on U.S. Special Forces troops at an airfield north of L.A., slashing one with a katana and hurling a large rock at another before fleeing.
Wow.
Now, I just have to say that there is a fine line between courage and stupidity. And for these guys to use the word daring, I don't know if I quite agree with that it was daring. I think this might have been...
He ran out with a sword and attacked special forces. That's daring.
In full ninja garb. I think that this might be bordering on not smart.
Okay. I mean, obviously.
Depending on your motive, right? I haven't, I don't know if the
article... Does it matter?
If the article states what his motive...
He put on the ninja gear, took his ninja katana, and said, you know what, Special Forces, I'm coming for you.
I think I need more context to decide.
Okay.
Captain Context agrees.
Here's the unfortunate part of the article. He was later arrested.
No.
You mean he didn't throw a smoke bomb and disappear?
Which would have been perfect for a ninja. Right? Where's that stuff, man? Come on. Get your gear in order first.
All right.
Identified as Gino Rivera, 35. The man showed up at the Inyokern Airport, located in the Mojave Desert, some 100 miles north of Los Angeles, California, around 1 a.m. on September 18th. Decked out in a ninja getup and wielding a large sword, the Kern County Sheriff's Office announced on Friday. From the report, 9/18/21, 1:10 a.m., Ridgecrest substation deputies responded to an Inyokern airport for an assault with a deadly weapon. Deputies discovered the suspect had assaulted a victim with a sword and thrown a rock through a hangar window, hitting an additional victim in the head.
Good aim.
The sheriff, right? That's some ninja aim right there.
Yeah, I mean,
through a hangar window and still hitting your target.
Because the hangar windows are kind of up high.
They're up. You got to arc that thing.
Yeah.
There's some physics involved there, which is called in to assist the Ridgecrest PD.
603-283-6160.
What's your best ninja story?
Have you been attacked by a ninja? Have you been a ninja and gone on a ninja mission? 603-283-6160. Let's hear from all you ninjas out there.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
Throwing Stars. Tubby shoes. That's T-A-B-I for those of you who don't know. Smoke bombs.
Did you have the sticky stars as a kid that just get yelled at for hitting the TV with?
No, I actually owned legitimate throwing stars.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking during the break about the magazine in which I ordered the ninja books from, and we remembered
Soldier of Fortune.
Soldier of Fortune magazine.
I was picturing it in my head the whole time, but I couldn't put my.
I was too, and thanks to you for saying what's another name for mercenary, and I'm like Soldier of Fortune. That's it, and you're like, yes, that's it, and I'm like, yes, that's it. So this is Free Talk Live. The telephone number is 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the captain,
Nikki,
and Richie Rich.
We've been talking about ninjas, or at least one specific man dressed as a ninja, identified as Gino Rivera, age 35, who showed up at an airport or something.
Showed up at an airport.
Mojave Desert.
Went on the attack with katana swords and throwing stones.
Throwing stones, definitely. Yes, ninja throwing stones.
Hey, it worked.
We will get back to the ninja story. First, I have to tell you that Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you will find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse for you to ignore this very important and world-changing information. If you're already a knowledgeable crypto user, you can check out news.bitcoin.com. Get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet app, mining, trading, all the latest cryptocurrency news, all in a very slick and very easy-to-use website. Please visit Bitcoin.com. We're going to go to Padraig, who's calling from New Mexico. Padraig, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I've called you before.
Yes.
Did you ever watch Harrison Ford on Raiders of the Lost Ark or one of those movies? There were several sequels to them where he just pulled out his pistol at the ninja and just
right.
moved
The
on.
ninja's got the sword, and he's like, oh yeah.
There's a backstory to that. Apparently he had to use the bathroom and wanted to cut the scene short, or something to that effect.
I don't know. I wasn't there. But I could say there's a lot of ninjas that work for the United States government and military.
I know. That's why this story seems so crazy to me, because I would think that if you're dressed as a ninja and you don't have guns, you have swords and throwing stones or whatever.
Hey, throwing stones were good enough for David in the Bible, and they're good enough for this ninja.
I'm guessing you're going to get shot. I don't know. Just guessing.
He got arrested, not shot.
Padraig, what were you calling about tonight?
I get arrested all the time. I was calling about Bitcoin.
Okay.
When I send Bitcoin through the ATM machines that they have,
when you
they have a few Bitcoin machines in the area. They're like ATMs or something they call them.
Yep.
Then you just have to flash a code. I can get a code from somebody and flash it on their phone in their little optics receiver there.
Yes, QR code, right. You scan the QR code. That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, and then I put in my phone number and I receive a receipt. But if I send $20, then only $17 goes to the recipient. If I send $500, I forget what it was now. I think it was $470, something like that. I got all over.
You're trying to send to another address using the Bitcoin ATM. I get you.
So your concern is with the minor fees, or
is that what it is? A minor fee? Who gets that money?
Well,
when I send money through Bitcoin, who gets that money?
It's probably a combination of people. It's probably, as Richie Rich points out, the miners are getting a percentage, but also the owner of the vending machine,
right,
has to make money somehow. They bought the machine, they've put it in there,
right,
and so that would be the other place where some of that money goes.
Right. So there are fees associated with Bitcoin transactions, but that's true for all cryptocurrencies.
And I understand that it's a little more than my bank. My bank only charges $5, and they charge quite a bit more than that for wire transfer. I know it's tracked by the government, and you can't track Bitcoin. So I really don't know who on the other end is.
So you were pointing out one of the common complaints with Bitcoin transactions in general, and that those fees are large at this point in time, relatively large compared to other options, which is why people have chosen other options. What's that?
Yes. I know Bitcoin is untraceable.
That is not true.
It is traceable.
To anybody.
That is 100% traceable.
Yeah, Bitcoin is traceable on the public blockchain. The only way that's meaningful to anybody is if they know your wallet destination and the destination of where you send the funds to.
Okay. So let's say that I was a lonely old man who had a couple of dollars.
Okay.
And I went onto a website that was about women who are lonely looking for a husband.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some girl on there who is from Nigeria, Korea, Russia,
Yep.
Florida, doesn't matter where, could be next door neighbor, running the scam. How would I know that she's receiving that money?
If it's a scam, you can rest assured she's receiving that money. That's why they scam you, to get the Bitcoin.
Yeah, they get the Bitcoin, but you don't know who you're really talking to.
That is correct. So don't send money or Bitcoin to random women on the internet.
Right. Which is just a generally a good practice. I mean, if you wouldn't send regular money to this person, don't send cryptocurrency to this person. Now,
don't Cash App them, don't Venmo them.
Right.
Don't PayPal them.
Okay, yeah. See, there's a lot of payments that they want. Those Visa gift cards, they're using that now.
Right. Those are scams.
It's good in the United States. I don't think a Visa gift card is good outside of the United States. Where Bitcoin is good worldwide.
That is true.
Okay.
But so the Visa gift card scams, even if they can't use it, what they will still then do is resell it as a discount. Right?
Well, they want the front of the Visa card for the number, and then you have to roll it over to get that little secure VV code.
So don't give them that either.
See, and that's what I'm trying to allude to here is Bitcoin is worldwide.
It is.
Yes. But the scams that you're talking about predate Bitcoin by a significant margin. Right? Bitcoin is just another tool that the scammers will use to get the money that they want.
Yeah, there have been, these mail order bride scams and these, folks looking to take advantage of lonely people for way longer than Bitcoin has been in existence.
Right.
It's just that they're now adapting to
Western Union,
the new technology. So you have to be as careful as you would, if not more. If anything, cryptocurrency should make you a little more careful with what you spend and how you spend, regardless as to whether or not you're using cryptocurrency.
Good point. That's a good point. And the government wants my property taxes every time I buy gasoline, buy food, whatever, eat at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Who in the government is kind of keeping track of that? I know the Chinese cracked down on cryptocurrency and it dropped quite a bit.
Who in the government is keeping track of the Bitcoin transactions?
Yeah, is it the FBI? Besides writing $250,000,
I mean, it would be a representative of the IRS in some form or fashion. But what they're currently counting on is either you being honest about your reporting, or being big enough to get on their radar so that they can crack down on large-scale operations.
Hey, Padraig, thanks for the call tonight. We appreciate it. Certainly, anytime money is involved, or transactions, right? Sure. You need to be careful and know who you're sending to,
right,
and what and how much, and have a way to verify that. Because while it's really easy to talk about, the scam is Bitcoin oriented. Well, no. As you pointed out, these scams have existed since, before I was born. Anyway,
the dawn of man, in some form or fashion.
Man. Yes, totally. And so, do be careful. Be very careful with how you spend. 603-283-6160 coming up. We'll find out more about this ninja in the Mojave Desert. This is Free Talk Live. Yes, come on and listen.
Come on.
To Free Talk Live. The telephone number in the studio is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. If you would like to call, talk about whatever's on your mind, you can talk about what we're talking about. We're going to talk more about this ninja in just a minute. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
Before we talk about ninjas, I want to let folks know that for too long, the federal government has overstepped its bounds repeatedly. They've refused to abide by the Constitution, and they've committed heinous war crimes both abroad and, of course, at home. They've destroyed the currency. They don't seem to care about their routine violations of human rights. And even if that wasn't the case, though, isn't it absurd that people in California or other states thousands of miles away get to determine who rules over you? At nhexit.us, we're trying to change that. We've proposed an amendment to the New Hampshire Constitution that would allow New Hampshire to declare its independence from the shenanigans, warmongering, and economic destruction wrought by the United States government. Sign the petition today at nhexit.us. Let's see New Hampshire exit the U.S. Where others have failed, we will secede.
I love that tagline.
I know I made it up.
I know.
I'm the only one who uses it, and I want to get a T-shirt with that on it.
You made it up, and it was great in the moment, and it's still great now.
I might go to one of those like ad hoc T-shirt websites where you could just type in your own text and just make one for myself or something. We'll see how it goes. So, at any rate, Richie Rich, you've been telling us about this story that you brought in from, is it RT.com?
Of course.
A ninja appeared out of nowhere
at an airport in the desert.
Is this a military facility?
I don't know. I don't know if it said specifically.
Because it said that the people he attacked were special forces.
Right. So it's the Inyokern Airport. I don't know if you want to.
It's not in your face. It's Inyokern.
Inyokern, right? Airport out in the desert. So I don't know. I have no idea what kind of airport it was.
Okay.
Ridgecrest deputies arrived at the scene. Rivera reportedly refused to follow commands and brandished a sword.
Okay, wait a minute. Do we know what time of year this was?
Like 2 weeks ago, on September 18th.
So it's probably still hot in the desert.
But it's also 1:10 in the morning. So it's an overnight.
Okay, I was just thinking, like, how, physically deterring might it be, heat-wise, to be wearing full ninja garb in the desert?
I mean,
that's a good point.
Have you seen the way Arabians dress?
Now, also a good point.
I also wanted to point out
it's effective. It's insulated.
I said some words in the previous segment about, I said ninja tabi. People who don't know what tabi is, it's the shoes where, you know how you like the difference between mittens and gloves?
Yes.
Mittens just at 4 and then the one thumb, right? Ninja
it's got the
tabi
one slot for your big toe.
Yeah, has the one slot for just your big toe and the other 4. And so you can wear sandals,
slippers.
You can wear sandals with these tabi shoes or tabi socks. And then, of course, technology comes out and they make boots now that have that one slot, but it's still got traction on the bottom and that kind of a thing. So that's what tabi are. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
Also, the Inyokern Airport is open to the public. It says it's used for mostly general aviation.
Boom.
So it's not
Inyokern.
Not a military
Okay.
airport.
So he comes out brandishing a sword. The sheriff's office continued adding that non-lethal rounds were deployed, but ineffective.
They shot the ninja with rubber bullets.
They tried. Where they hit him.
Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, pew, and they bounced right off.
I wonder if the ninja's like, wow, this ninja thing's really working out for me. I'm bulletproof.
Be even cooler if he swung at one with his ninja sword and sliced it in half. The suspect then fled, prompting a chase, after which he was tasered and dropped the sword, allowing officers to make an arrest.
Ninja cannot run the taser.
The bizarre incident, you need PCP for that. That's a good taser deterrent. Just saying. If you're going to go out and, go out with a bang.
If you're a ninja and you're planning an attack on special forces and you wish to consult with somebody before your attack, please call 603-283-6160 to discuss this with Richie Rich.
I mean, I don't have the PCP for you, but I have seen people on PCP get tasered like you wouldn't believe, and they just go,
no effect.
No effect.
Yep.
And I go, all right. So that's the ticket
Your
there.
puny tasers have no effect on me.
Right. Just throwing it out there, if you're going to be in that situation. The bizarre incident, first noted by Stars and Stripes, the Pentagon's official press organ, was initially outlined in unconfirmed military incident report that appeared on social media. The report stated that an unnamed Army staff sergeant, referred to only as SSG in the document, was smoking a cigarette near a hangar at the airfield when an unknown person wearing full ninja garb, including a katana sword, approached him. The person wearing the ninja garb stated, "Do you know who I am?" SSG replied, "No."
Wait a minute. So I'm just imagining myself. Okay, I've joined the military, and I've made senior staff sergeant. I believe that's what SSG stands for. And I'm having a kind of a rough day, and so I decide to go outside to have a smoke. Right, so I'm having a smoke. Around the corner, out of nowhere, behind the bushes, somewhere, suddenly appears a ninja who goes, "Do you know who I am?"
Which is foolish if you're a ninja, right? Because that's why you wear the mask,
right?
To remain unidentified.
Oh my God!
And then starts chucking rocks at you.
You don't ask a man in a mask who he is.
No, the man in the mask is asking the other guy if he knows who he is. Right? Yeah.
It's also bizarre.
Like the answer is going to be no. You're wearing a mask.
Right. And so the staff sergeant replied no, and then the unknown person then asked, "Do you know where my family is?" And again stated no. Wow. The report said. So he's on a mission.
Are you sure he wasn't on PCP?
I was going to ask that same question. Yes.
He's on something.
Okay.
So he's on a mission to find his family. This is some Rambo-esque Schwarzenegger one-man army type of thing going out like they stole his family and he's going to get them back. Staff sergeant said, no, don't know where the family is. At this point, the person in ninja garb began to slash at the SSG, striking his phone and his knee and his leg. The SSG immediately began running through the parking lot, trying to evade the unknown person.
Okay, now I'm imagining being like another member of the military, not the same guy that I was before, who's like in the distance and just out of the corner of his eye sees movement, right? And he's like, oh, look, there's Bob. Oh, he's being chased by a ninja.
Running through the parking lot with slashes in his knee and his leg. SSG jumped the fence and entered the airport's administrative building. The staff sergeant, along with another unnamed Army captain, then locked all the doors of the building and called 911. As the ninja assailant was kicking and punching doors and windows.
Okay, there's something hilarious about a member of the military calling 911.
Yeah,
when they're like on the job, and you would think that they would be otherwise armed.
Well, that's part of it. Like military bases, they're all unarmed.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I didn't know that.
Why? Because
they're military bases.
Because they're dangerous. They have to go to the armory to get their stuff. But
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Here's another
army that is.
Right. So here's another
sounds very British.
Here's another pro tip for you, right? If you're going to attack a military base you can do so with a small squad.
With a
sword. But, get to the armory first. Because if they find out about your assault, everyone's going to have to rush to the armory to get their weapons because they're not carrying it on their person on the military base.
Do the different military branches, and you might not know the answer to this, do they share an armory if they're if there's, at this particular airport, if there's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, is there a separate armory for each of them or do they all sort of share one armory?
That I don't know. Coming from Hawaii, there's, multitude of military bases on the island, but they're all individually branched. So there's like a Marine Corps base, an Air Force base,
a Navy base, right? Yeah. Okay,
so,
gotcha. Post office base, all those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. Post office base for the armory. But yeah, so they all have their own specific armory. I don't know any military bases that are like co-branched.
Yeah.
And if they were to share an armory.
Okay. All right.
But just throwing that out there. The likelihood is that
I'm just asking questions.
Right. Because every time you hear the military guy going on a rampage on base and losing his cool. Right. Everyone else is unarmed.
This is called, by the way, for those of you who are old school, when somebody goes on sort of a rampage, it's called going postal.
Yeah.
Like I'm from the old school. This is what it was originally called to me.
That's not PC anymore, Captain.
Right.
You can't say stuff like that.
I'm taking it back. Okay. I'm bringing back going postal because it's the OG term for when somebody, flips out on their employer and decides to shoot it.
Because it used to happen a lot at the post office.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was. After a brief while, the man said to the left, but return a few minutes, later carrying a large block of asphalt, which he proceeded to hurl through the window of the admin building, striking the Army captain in the head, as the sheriff's office would later.
Oh, I don't like it when it strikes a captain. 603-283-6160. Well, my captainship is earned, not given, so this is Free Talk Live. More coming up.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
Free Talk Live.
603-283-6160. That is the telephone number. I don't know why I sang it, but I appreciate you conducting. For those of you watching over at, video.freetalklive.com?
It is.
603-283-6160. If you want to join us, we've got some calls on hold, and we'll get to those momentarily. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
And we're kicking off hour 2 here. Were we done with the ninja thing?
I mean, there's more, but we can also stop.
Okay.
The highlight was in the title. Like, the headline was all you needed to know. The rest of it is just filler.
I still don't I don't get how you dress up in full ninja garb with a sword and go to a military base or an airstrip,
right?
Airport with a military installation.
He was looking for his family, man,
and apparently having an identity crisis.
Because Mexicans can't have ninjas?
Well, no, he asked do you know who I am? Like, okay. That's either like he expected the guy to know who he is, right?
Not in the full ninja garb.
In which case he would have had to already have been a famous ninja, right? Which he obviously was not. So, or he didn't know who he was and was like, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Like it was a legitimate question, not like a threatening question. It was like, I have amnesia. Do you know who I am?
I feel like if you're a famous ninja, you weren't doing your job right.
Imagine that, waking up, like not knowing who you are, and you're like dressed in full ninja garb, and you're just like, who am I? Oh my gosh, what's going on?
What was that?
I've got this sword. I might as well go find my family.
What was that old sci-fi show? Had the guy who would like sort of inhabit other people's bodies. Quantum Leap, yeah. Imagine if he like jumped into like the body of a ninja and was like, do you know who I am? All right.
That was a great show.
All right. Well, didn't that have, what's the guy's name?
Scott Bakula?
That's the guy, yeah. Count Bakula.
Okay.
That's what I call him. He was also in the not-so-popular Star Trek.
Enterprise?
That's the one, yeah.
Yep.
Count Bakula. All right. Any rate, we'll come back to, more stuff about, all sorts of fun things.
Pop culture that Captain Kickass can't remember.
That's right. Even though I'm totally old enough to remember. We're going to go to your calls and thoughts. We're going to Major Payne from Michigan. Major, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how you guys doing this evening?
We're okay. What's on your mind?
While you had me on hold, that little bit from the Onion Network there about the politician raising Cain about what are men going to do next, marry horses, and then theoretically getting chastised for having a romantic interlude in question with his own horse and going on expensive vacations in Spain and whatnot with him. Well, I pray that the politicians we are all the jackasses that we perceive them to be, because a jackass can't breed. So let's hope I'm right on that one.
Thanks, Major.
We did an article several weeks ago.
No,
I'm not
done. I'm not done. Is about the postal workers?
Yes.
You guys, about the postal workers. All right.
What about
I remember back in the day when they first started having these, what should we call them, unscheduled parties at the post office. And, people were bugging out and shooting up the joint and whatnot.
Yes.
And, I knew a postal worker, and I asked him, I says, how do these guys keep getting all these rock and roll weapons? And to the uneducated, that means fully automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, well, by mail.
Yeah, of course. You could order them back in the day off the back of Soldier of Fortune magazine or something along those lines.
They're just stealing the mail.
No, just the parts to transfer, to make it fully automatic.
Oh yeah.
Or the diagrams to show you which part to file to make it rock and roll. Or but nowadays they sell a little gizmo. It's a fancy trigger that fires on the pull and the release.
binary.
So if you can keep track of your target and just bap, you're pretty near fully automatic right there.
There's the binary trigger for that, which is pull and release. And there's also now, who's getting in trouble with the ATF, possibly, maybe, but he's fighting back, the forced reset trigger. Which forces...
What's that one? I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, look into that. The FART 15, FRT 15, forced reset trigger.
When I was 15, I used to fart.
So it basically, if you can figure out the weight of the trigger pull and kind of just balance your finger on there, the forced reset mechanism automatically pushes your finger forward and forces the trigger mechanism to reset, and then you just pull it again.
Back into its original position, so you don't have to worry about the full thing. It forces it.
It forces
happen,
it forward and like holds the hammer in place, so the hammer so it's not a hammer follow. So yeah,
basically you just got to train your finger for a 5-pound pull, and it'll keep on pumping.
Yes, but it's a single pull every time. But the ATF is trying to categorize that as a machine gun, and this particular company, I forget the name of the company, but they do the force reset trigger. They're actually fighting back. So they're,
I wonder if it's Tinmy. They make the best triggers in the world, as far as I know.
It's not them. It's a smaller company that I can't think of the name of offhand.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight, Major. We appreciate it. Let's go right away to Brian calling from Kentucky. Brian, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. What's on your mind, Brian?
So you were talking about that military base and not having any guards or anything. I don't know what military base it was.
Well, they had guards. They just apparently didn't have guns, I guess?
Well, the majority of most of your bases, good luck trying to come through, because every post is manned, not only with military members, but also DOD, Department of Defense. So go to an active military base. Like I was stationed on Fort Stewart, Georgia. Good luck getting on that base, because you wasn't going to come through it, because they had active MPs on guard.
Now, were they armed? That's the question, Brian. Like,
yes, they are armed.
Well,
they are armed.
Right, but all the soldiers on base are not, which is why the people who got onto base and shot up the bases, right? They're like, well, why didn't the soldiers fight back? It's because they did not have their arms.
Well, that's. First of all, they shouldn't have been able to get on, because they should have never gotten past the checkpoint.
Well, this guy was a ninja, apparently.
Well, this also wasn't a military base. This was an airport.
Well, there you go. I mean, now you're dealing with TSA. They're a joke anyway. So, but you go on active military bases, and they're not going to get on.
Because all the soldiers on there are carrying around their military-issued firearms.
Yeah, not all of them on base. It's the ones that are at the checkpoints to get on the base.
What about at a civilian airport where there is a military area? Would those guards be armed?
That sounds like Mexicans can't get through because border control stops them at the checkpoints.
I remember a buddy of mine.
If you come through the designated point of entry, you are not getting through, my friend.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
I don't know about the civilian airport stuff, but I know a lot of civilian airports have police officers on duty.
Sure. And yet a guy in full military garb with a katana, right?
Ninja garb, not military.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, ninja garb gets through.
Right. That's unbelievable. But I know for a fact that. Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember the incident that happened in Norfolk, Virginia on the naval base. They had a guy try to ram his car.
I was going to say, is that the guy who ran his car through? And, of course, he didn't get very far.
He didn't go far because they had those things in the ground that they just popped up in the air, and he actually ran into that.
Sure.
So that's what I'm talking about, those checkpoints on an active military base. They're not going to get through.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call tonight and the clarification, Brian.
So, new pro tip,
appreciate
don't go through the checkpoint.
Well, if you're a ninja, that shouldn't be an issue.
Find another way in.
And I'm guessing it wasn't an issue for this particular ninja, right? Because he obviously got by somebody before he popped out of the bushes or from behind a poof of smoke or whatever in front of this guy who was ironically having a smoke.
Or so if he was smoking, he was probably outside, so the this person probably didn't even need to go inside the airport through any of the checkpoints.
Yeah, he got to the hangar area, right, where the planes are being stored.
So definitely inside the airport and past some TSA at least.
Yeah.
At a minimum, or supposedly anyway.
Yeah.
603-283-6160. More of your calls and thoughts. Plus, we'll be talking about, well, some other fun stuff. This is Free Talk Live. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live.
You're welcome.
I wasn't really talking to you. I was talking to the listeners.
Oh. Well, to them, you're welcome.
They are welcome.
Welcome to call in.
Welcome to call in at 603-283-6160. We've got some calls on hold. We'll get to those in moments. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
Last year, we told you about Intercoin here on Free Talk Live, which can help any business or organization launch their own currency or raise money using their own token. Now, Intercoin.org has launched worldwide. Is there a token you want to launch or an app you want to build? Go to intercoin.org, enter your email, and the team will get in touch with you to learn about your needs. And while you're there, if you want, get some Intercoins for yourself. That's intercoin.org. All right, so let's go to more of your calls and thoughts because, well, it's called Free Talk Live for a reason. We're going to Bad Slave in New Hampshire. Bad Slave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, thank you, Kick-Ass.
Yeah, what's on your mind?
Doing?
Captain Kick-Ass.
Oh, Captain Kick-Ass, I'm sorry.
Yeah, whatever, it's fine.
I've
been called worse by much better people.
Anyway, yeah. Well, there you go. You know, the other co-host, major one, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Mark is the other one.
He's one of the other ones, yes.
Does he fund the advertising for that? I don't know, these enterprise zones, Belize or Central America.
I don't know that he funds them. He's certainly, I call it gallivanting. That's kind of what my phrase is for what Mark does.
Okay.
He travels the world, basically, gets on airplanes and talks to people and goes and checks out other areas of the globe that...
I like his term for it is the Move Here Project.
Yeah, that may, he's looking for places that are freer, if you will, than, let's say, New Hampshire.
Right.
Or other places in the United States. He's literally scouring the globe for places where a man can be free. And so that's kind of, my take on what he does. I don't know enough about, what the organizations he represents do as far as funding and if he represents them or if he's just out there, on his own sort of, gallivanting of his own accord. Yeah. I don't have enough information. You might have to ask him the next time he's on the show. Yeah, feel free to call in.
Is he ever hosting the show or
he's kind of on a hiatus right now, but he will be back. Mark, is not the kind of guy to not appear on the show again.
To him, but I think we can talk now because what he's doing is effectively diminishing our liberty migration.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I disagree.
Yeah, I also disagree. I think that there's room for both things to occur. Like when we'll call it the Free State Project or the Greater Liberty Movement here in New Hampshire, when it was getting started, when it was just kicking off, it was because people were opening their minds and going, hey, what if? what is possible? What if we did this? What if we did that? What if we all got a bunch of people together to move to one place to see if we can affect the system and realize liberty in our lifetime? Mark just took that a step further and went, well, what if there's other places where this is also possible? So
right. If he finds the place that's freer than New Hampshire is, and then has the potential to get more free,
or even
faster,
just as free,
well,
and has the ability to affect another area of the globe where he finds a bunch of freedom-oriented people who want to move to a place where they can be more free than they currently are, then New Hampshire would have an ally in another place somewhere else on the globe.
But what I'm saying is, if you move to New Hampshire for more freedom, would you not then move to wherever Mark found for the same reason?
Hang on. Go ahead, Bad Slave.
I get all that, and I still disagree. I think that every time you offer someone an opportunity to be free other than New Hampshire, you're diluting our pool of migrants, and I think that Mark should stop doing that, because first of all, I don't expect there to be any benefit.
Why do you want to keep people less free if New Hampshire is not the freest place to be?
Because I don't think that any of these, also rans are going to actually effectively.
So people serious about freedom then aren't going to move, and it's not diluting anything, because the real serious people are going to move here.
Well, no, I mean, they might be deciding between the two, and then go for Mark's option of some random place.
If it's more free, why not?
I want the whole world to be free. I don't want just New Hampshire to be free. And there's some things about New Hampshire that not everybody loves. Not everybody loves the winter, and that's cool. If you want to move somewhere else, then you don't have to come to New Hampshire.
Hang on, Bad Slave.
New Hampshire for 30 years.
Yeah, hang on, Bad Slave. Hang on, Bad Slave. So we know you've listened to the show long enough that you know that we are fans of something called the free market, and I think you are too. Are you not?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so in a free market, you would have competition regardless of what the destiny or destination is. So there would be, let's say New Hampshire, we do secede and we become one of the freest places in the world. Let's just say that happens. Now, there should be somewhere else on planet Earth that is also as free, if not more free, or free in a different way as a competitor, so that people have a choice.
I mean,
there shouldn't be this centralized
Free State Project
bit.
West or Free State West or something. It's not a thing.
There's a reason I'm saying what I'm saying.
Okay.
And you haven't even touched it. That reason is
touch it all the time.
That the only place that has ever taken up the idea of individual liberty as a concept has been America. It hasn't happened anywhere. Huh?
I mean, America may be the last stand, but there, what is it said? Like there's a whole bunch of countries out there who, with one thing in common, that's celebrating their independence from the British Empire. So there's a handful of countries out there that have been oppressed.
Yeah, but the United States is the only one that had a limiting constitution, a republic, sovereignty for all the states.
Well, except
paper.
Except they didn't actually do any of that. And
of course it's on paper. That's all there can be. But the fact is that
it can be in reality.
There is a seed. There is this seed in America that doesn't exist anywhere else. And I think that's why anywhere else is going to fail.
Then why is it popping up everywhere else?
Slave.
Why is Mark able to find all these other move here places where they're giving freedom a chance?
Yeah, I think there's room for both. And I've said that from the beginning, from the onset of things. Like, if somebody wants to go and gallivant and find other free places, far out, solid, and right on, man. Go, do. If that's your calling, go and do. I'm going to be here in New Hampshire for a while at least, if not for the rest of my life. But
I would reconsider if he found something
more coming up.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter: Bloodlines Headlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. It's the Sunday night edition. The telephone number, if you'd like to join us, is 603-283-6160. That was my O face. Just kidding. 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Rich.
We'll get to your calls and thoughts in just a moment.
My calls?
Not yours.
Oh,
the caller's calls.
Okay.
Your, you pointed generically your. It's like if I make a joke about your mom, I don't mean your mom specifically. I mean the general term, your mom.
That's not as funny.
Everyone's mom.
Yeah. Liberty in Our Lifetime is what I want to talk about. Get your digital tickets now for this event called Liberty in Our Lifetime. It's being hosted by the Free Private Cities Foundation. Although physical tickets are sold out, you can still get virtual tickets at lifetimeliberty.com. Liberty in Our Lifetime is exploring projects happening right now around the world that are working to achieve that lofty goal of securing freedom in our lifetime. Speakers from Crypto Valley, Prospera, the Seasteading Institute, and more will all be speaking at this October 16th event. Get your digital tickets now at lifetimeliberty.com. See what people are doing all around the world to create voluntary societies with a live and let live attitude at lifetimeliberty.com.
You just picked that to rub the salt in the wound of Bad Slave, didn't you?
It just happened to, kind of sometimes karma,
How
whatever.
Convenient.
No, I understand where Bad Slave is coming from, but there's a few things besides competition that I would like to point out, or at least one thing anyway that I'd like to point out, and that is Mark became very intimately familiar with the Free State Project. He was an active promoter of it. I would say Free Talk Live was probably the loudest voice that particular organization had for at least the first, 5 years of the project?
At one point in time, Free Talk Live was probably responsible for the most number of movers as part of the project.
And so he met a whole bunch of people, and, Mark's kind of a networking guy, right? He likes to meet people and know what they do and all that kind of stuff. Now, let's just say that New Hampshire goes ahead. There's a bit of a declare your independence movement in New Hampshire right now, and nhexit.us and some other places and things. Let's just say that something like that happens. I think it's a damn good idea to have somebody sort of gallivanting around the globe who is friendly to freedom and friendly to the folks here in New Hampshire.
No, there can only be one free place on the entire planet.
Because if we do declare our independence from the United States and become our own sovereign nation, we're going to need some friends in other countries to trade with, to ship to and from, to do business with, to all sorts of things, right? To communicate with, all of that kind of a thing. And to your point, yeah, it is ridiculous for me to think that New Hampshire is the only place where freedom-minded people can congregate to make a difference.
And I think more importantly, it's if you're a lover of freedom and you want everyone to be free, we should be open to the idea that there should be different areas of the world that are also free.
Yeah, especially if you want to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to go on vacation, you want to go on status vacation, you want to go on freedom vacation.
Well, and it's okay, so I might not live in Russia or China, but the fact that that people are being oppressed in those areas, that still upsets me. Even if I don't ever plan on visiting Russia or China, it's still a terrible thing. I want everybody to be free to do what they want as long as it's not harming anybody else. And I want everybody to be able to live, a life of liberty.
Yeah. Then all those Russians and those Chinese should just move to New Hampshire.
All right. Speaking of people who are struggling with, ways of freedom, let's go to David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, the next sequential vignette in the saga. So I last left you where the...
Wait, hold on, David.
Hostile...
Previously on David from New Mexico. Okay, go ahead, David.
Daves of our lives.
Dum-dum. As the stomach turns.
Like sands through the hourglass.
Yeah, so the other parent had found a new boyfriend and gotten married and hired a lawyer, spent thousands, hired a lawyer, and filed a lawsuit against me to terminate my parental rights to my own children and adopt my children to him because that would be cool. And much easier then to push the biological father out of the lives of the children, especially since they were young enough that they could be brainwashed into thinking that the new father was their biological father and that I never existed. So, but they took me to trial on that, and Judge M. Monica Zamora in New Mexico sided with them and terminated my parental rights. I appealed that to the New Mexico Court of Appeals, and I won a unanimous 3-judge decision overturning Zamora, and that remanded it back to Judge John J. Romero Jr. to patch things up, to do the appropriate thing.
Right.
And he never did that, and so it's been stalled there. But here's the vignette. Here's the next vignette of the infinite wisdom of your government, the infinite wisdom of your courts, family and children's courts. So they just stalled, obstructed me, and left my kids with the stepfather cutting me out of the lives of my children. And now, fast forward, like 8-9 years later, the wonderful step-parent, who is now the man in my children's lives, beats up their mother when he's drunk, attempts to rape her. It was a felony aggravated battery on a household member with a sexual attempt as well. And then my son enters the scene and is assaulted and battered.
Did the stepdad face any charges for this when this happened?
Yeah, he faced all those charges I just laid out, 4 of them, including 1 felony, and he got them all but 1. He pleaded to 1, a misdemeanor. Battery on a household member, and they erased the rest of them, and he got a suspended sentence according to the court records. And
so justice is served.
Justice is served. But let's look at the children for a second.
Yes.
So they push out the biological father, who actually cared about his kids, out of the lives of the children. They replace him with something infinitely better, the step-parent, who then goes on to assault, batter, and attempt to rape, and is then divorced. And that dude is out of those children's lives now. So these children are left with what? No father, no male figure, except for the next boyfriend in the sequential series of boyfriends that women like my ex seem to accumulate. So that's where these children are left in the infinite wisdom.
David, I have to ask, why do children need a father when they have government to tell them what to do and how to do it?
Well, they absolutely don't need a father. The government is the end-all, be-all to everything and solves all problems and is everything to everybody.
There's also
your sarcasm.
There's also an implication there that the biological parents are always the best, but they also have a tendency to beat their kids as well. So that's not always
there's a culture thing that plays into child abuse, specifically beatings and discipline and that kind of thing. It is true. But there is a whole overwhelming bit of evidence that says children who are brought up in a 2-parent household fare significantly better in life than those who are brought up in a single-parent household.
Understood.
Right.
Yeah, and they're actually statistically less likely to be abused.
Sure. But it's not like the biological parent doesn't abuse their kids in every case as well.
Right. But in this instance, which is what we're talking about, there is no court record showing that I battered my son, but there is a court record showing that the stepfather in this case did batter my son, not his son.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight, David. Please continue to keep us updated on your situation, especially with the children, and I hope you get some real justice, not this justice that the system's giving you. 603-283-6160 is our telephone number if you would like to join us here on Free Talk Live. We're going to talk a little bit about how the show Seinfeld revealed authoritarianism.
What?
Yeah, coming up. Yes, welcome back to the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. We're a live call-in radio talk program where you can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. If maybe you're listening and you're like, I don't like what these guys are talking about. Well, you can call in, change the subject. Doesn't matter.
That's the beauty of the show. You
don't have to talk about what we're talking about. You can talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is the number. We've got plenty of calls on hold right now. So, if you want to try and get in, please give a call. 603-283-6160. Tonight, I'm your host, the Captain. Joining me,
I'm Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
And I do want to talk about this, how Seinfeld revealed authoritarianism. We'll get to that, though. But first, let's go to some of the calls. We've got Jet calling from... Jet, where are you calling from?
Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado. Thank you. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, a lot of times when I call in, the audience might think that somehow I'm referring to, when I say things like, never use the term government or people's titles and that kind, they might think that I'm talking about words or syntax or rhetoric, but that is not it at all.
Oh,
I
do tell.
Talk about, yeah, because I liked what Nikki said. Is she said, I want everyone to be free.
Yes.
But if we really wish to change the world toward that freedom, we have, about eliminating things like lockdowns and mandates, dictates, and other forms of oppression. Mm-hmm. We need to develop something like, let's say, a widely broadcasted radio program. You can call it Free Talk Live.
You could.
Anyway, the formula is, if you want to be free, if you want the world to be free, you have to take on the mindset, you have to create the visualizations, and you have to employ the speech of someone who wants to be free, which means that there's one element that needs to be engendered or repeated over and over.
A fundamental element, if you will?
A fundamental.
A fundamental elephant?
Yes, elephant. Yeah, it's totally irrelevant sometimes, but in this case, you must have and do this fact that there are other humans on this planet, and you are also humans. Mm-hmm. And these other humans literally have no more rights or privileges or special position than you or I do unless you give it to them. Mm-hmm. You must stop thinking about them as separate people. You have to think of them as just other people who have no more right. And once enough people do that, or you broadcast that out enough, and every time someone brings up something like a lockdown or a mandate, you say, well, how do they have that right? Where do they get that privilege? Yeah. You just repeat that they don't. And you keep harping on that. Other people do not have any more rights than you and I.
So here's one area where I think Bad Slave may be correct, insofar as there is a culture of freedom ingrained into the American psyche. Mm. And it may just be in words and in writing and in the founding documents.
There's terminology for certain.
Understood. But it also doesn't exist in a lot of places around the world, which is why getting them, right, to come to the ideas of freedom and liberty proves more difficult.
I also think it gives people a false sense of freedom, though, because, like a lot of conservative people are like, oh, freedom isn't free. And, they have all of their American freedom-ish rhetoric that they like to use. But I wouldn't really say that the United States of America is a free place.
I wouldn't either.
Well, you
they seem to think it is.
Because there's a culturally ingrained phenomenon.
Hang on. Go ahead, Jet.
I said you literally have to take on the feeling and the idea, the mindset that, the motto of New Hampshire, live free or die. This is how America was built. They took on this position, we're going to either attain this freedom or we are going to give our lives, our sacred honor, all that stuff that they said.
Yes, it was that important to them that they would risk death for freedom. And thanks for the call tonight, Jet.
But now you have HD TV, and it's not that important anymore, man.
Well, and it's a good point. I like to always say that like true freedom starts from within. Right. So if you are the only person that can grant yourself freedom,
yes.
So you have to start from within, and then you can start doing some activism and, spreading that freedom around and,
Right. So one of the fundamental properties of a free society, right, is like private property rights. Mm-hmm. And like, this is mine, I can do what I want. Private property rights is not a concept that exists in that manner in other countries. So when you try to explain private property to them, they're unable to conceptualize it, and therefore unable to understand the concepts of freedom and liberty that stem from that, because they don't get it. It's not there. They were not brought up with that culture. They were not brought up with that rhetoric, and so they cannot understand it fundamentally as easy as you can with Americans.
Well, and Jet makes a good point about, literally you have to live free or die. Now, folks in New Hampshire, there's some folks here that take that to heart and, sort of live that, but not all of them, and by a long shot, right? Not an overwhelming
most people
majority.
Not by a long shot,
right.
Because the alternative death, right, is very easy to attain if you really decide to live free.
Now, there are people, there are activists, there are other people involved in the liberty movement who risk far more than I do or we do, sitting here blabbing into the radio. However, if the United States really was a free place, that's us, the three of us sitting here blabbing into a microphone to a couple hundred radio stations across the nation, we would have no risk. There would be no risk associated. Now, there is risk associated with doing this. Sometimes people don't want to come on the show who have been on the show in the past, or maybe we've invited them to be on the show and they declined because they don't want to risk speaking out publicly. Now, why would they decline that? Well, because they're afraid of what's going to happen. What the individuals, these people that don't have any more rights than anybody else, that Jet says, because this organization of people with the belief in authority, they're afraid of what is going to happen to them if they get on public radio and start speaking out as we have.
And the belief in authority comes with it, right? The use of violence against those speaking out in favor of freedom.
Right.
They will attack you.
Yes.
And if you want to be the guy, right, speaking out and being, that much of an activist, you're literally putting your life on the line every time, as you should, right, if you believe in live free or die.
Right.
But the likelihood is, for the vast majority of people who try that tactic, right, death is going to be the option.
Yep. No, agreed. And
then you lose an activist.
All of us, not all, a lot of the hosts here on Free Talk Live have day jobs, right? This isn't, a thing where like, you guys are getting paid big time. Your radio. No, that's not how Free Talk Live works, right? This is literally a public service that we are performing here. We are standing up. We are speaking out because we can. Most of us because we feel a responsibility to yell it from the mountaintops. Hey, y'all are a bunch of frickin' slaves, right? Yeah. You are not free. You've been told that you're free. You've been told that your freedom comes at a price. You've been told that that price is this organization of horrible crimes, of horrible, inhumane things that they continue doing, bombing people, killing people, segregating people, racism, all of the bad things that you're afraid people are going to do are committed by this other organization known as government.
Right. And it's easier to do on the radio because you get to speak it, but I'm sure this is an experience shared by other activist movers or whatever. It's a lot more difficult to do with family and close friends. They want no part of this freedom.
Yeah.
How are you going to convince them?
A lot of folks have elucidated or told me that the most difficult freedom conversation they've had is the one, at like a Thanksgiving dinner with their family, Uncle Ed from, I was in the war and what, that kind of stuff. And, family starts taking sides. I don't understand where you're coming.
My mom listens to this show, and several weeks ago or whatever, I said, Hawaii can just fall off into the ocean, right? It's Hawaii is falling. It's gone. Like for freedom, it's gone.
She take it personal.
She took it personally. She's like, I did not really like to hear that. I go, you were warned, right? I've been saying this for years. I've implored you to move for years. You don't even have to move to New Hampshire. Just move somewhere else where there's, a better shot for you for freedom. And she's always turned me down. So I'm like, all right, so if it falls and you fall with it, my hands are tied. You were warned.
603-283-6160 is the telephone number if you would like to call in and discuss, well, whatever's on your mind. You can talk about what we're talking about. You can talk about anything else. This is Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next.
This message is for you if you are a polyamorous person or you're in an open relationship and you are struggling with jealousy, loneliness, and communication problems. Hello, my name is Jeremy West, and I am a polyamory coach with degrees in psychology and communications and 5 years of experience with polyamory. And for a limited time, I'm teaching a free online class just for polyamorous people or people in open relationships, where you will discover a new, simpler, and unique way to uncover the secret that experienced poly people know about jealousy that you must know too. Stop feeling lonely when your partner is out with another partner, and use the 4 key elements that will change the way you communicate forever. No more crying yourself to sleep when you're alone for a night, a weekend, or longer, and wondering if it's better to go back to a monogamous relationship. Sound good? Well then, go to jeremywest.net/free class and register for my class now. Again, that's jeremywest.net/free class, jeremywest.net/free class.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
Wait, this is Free Talk Live?
It is Free Talk Live. And
good, I'm in the right place.
Yes, you are in the right place. So are you, listeners.
Got scammed into coming to the studio for something else.
Yeah.
It's an intervention.
I just show up here.
With good reason.
The telephone number here at Free Talk Live is 603-283-6160. We've still got several calls on hold. We'll be getting to you shortly. No, I'm not calling you shortly. I'm just saying in a little while. As in shortly, not as in how tall you are. So, at any rate, in the studio, it's myself.
That's Shorty.
Yeah, I'm the Reverend Captain Kickass. I'm your host. Joining me,
I'm Nikki Sunshine.
And Richie Rich.
And, I mean, let's just go ahead and go to your calls, shall we? Let's go to, I believe, Pepsi, who's calling in about the Ninja. Pepsi, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with this whole COVID thing, everybody's like, one step away from being a ninja anyway. If you had one black bandana, you're already covered up. So I'm surprised that there's not more incidents happening like this. You know what I mean?
I know. I remember why just less than a year ago when you may have been arrested if you went into a place like, a bank, for example, wearing a mask.
So I've got a friend on social media who posted this thing, and it says anti-facial recognition makeup.
Oh, I saw that.
I was like, dude, just wear your mask. If you're that concerned, right, you need not spend all that money on face paint. Just wear your mask.
Pepsi, tell us the truth. Are you a ninja?
Well, I was born a ninja. I'm half Japanese anyway, but that's not the point.
I didn't know that.
Right now, just like you said, before you'd be arrested for going to the bank wearing a mask, now you'll be arrested for not wearing one,
Yeah, that's about the truth.
That's society here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to chime in on that. All right. You guys are doing a great job. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pepsi. Pepsi, appreciate the call.
That's another thing that needs to be pointed out, right? The lockdowns end when the regular people stop complying with the silly mandates.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
I can count on one hand.
Non-compliance, disobedience. That's the only way out.
Right. So I can count on one hand the amount of times from the beginning where I've been required to wear, facial coverings. Otherwise, I just go about my business relatively unmolested.
I kind of wanted to get a stormtrooper helmet or some sort of superhero face mask just to put out the idea this is ridiculous. Technically I am complying with your stupid mask mandate, but let's do it in the most ridiculous fashion possible.
I liked when the mask thing first came around, there was somebody walking around with the death mask.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. I think I might be, I don't know how many people exist on planet Earth who have yet to have worn a mask, despite being constantly bombarded with either mandates or, policies or, other coercive methods to get you to wear one. I still have yet to put one on. I came close.
Good for you.
I came close a couple of times.
Nice.
I went into, it was a local, we'll call it a bar, even though New Hampshire claims they don't have bars because everybody has to serve food. So
I wonder if that's why New Hampshire doesn't have strip clubs.
That may be. There's not even one in Manchester?
I think there's one in the state.
Okay.
But aside from that,
I'm surprised I'm not familiar with it.
Well, yeah. Because it's not in this area.
So I went to this bar with somebody else, and the two of us walk in. Neither of us are wearing a mask. And I don't know if he's the bartender, if he's the door guy or whatever. And it was kind of a busy night, maybe a Friday, Saturday night. And he walks up, and he's like, hey, you guys got your masks? And the guy I was with says, well, yeah, I got mine right here. And he's like, well, you got to put it on when you come in. And then he looks at me because I didn't say anything. And he goes, do you have your mask? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll get you one. And I'm like, okay. So the guy I was with was looking around. He found a table for us to sit down at while this guy was going. And this guy comes up and he hands me a mask. And I just look at him. I go, okay, thanks. And then he walks by me. So he handed it to me. I had it in my hand, and then I just sat down at the table right away. And then, of course, here comes the waitress to take our order for the drinks, and I just never put it on. I just let it sit there on the table.
Nice. Because you're already seated. COVID doesn't get you when you're seated at the table.
Right.
Only when you're standing up.
Only when you're standing
I
up.
tried that at a store in Keene once. They gave us masks, and they had a whole setup. They had the plexiglass at the front, and they were taking temperatures, and they had the hand sanitizer, and they had all the masks ready. So she was trying to give me a mask, and I just took it, and I was just trying to get some boots. So I'm walking into the store.
Boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants.
Walking through the store, just on my mission, trying to get my boots, and she is chasing us around the store, trying to get me to put the mask on. Oh, and I'm like, listen, I took the mask. Can't we just both pretend?
No, she's a hardcore believer.
And that's the thing, too. It's most of the people, it's just a compliance thing, right? They're like, well, my boss told me I had to do this, so, let's just pretend or whatever. But some people are hardcore, you're going to kill me if you come in here without a mask. And it's
Those
just,
are the ones you gotta worry about.
ridiculous.
Nothing says great customer service in the retail industry like an employee chasing you around the store while you're
me
trying
around,
to shop.
yelling at me. And
a
at
completely
that point,
healthy person, mind you.
Right?
Yes.
So at that point, I was like, you know what? Not only do I not want to wear a mask, but this lady is making me so uncomfortable, and these people are so crazy. I just left. I'm like, I don't even want to give them my money.
Yep. Yeah. Good on you. Let's continue with your calls and thoughts. Let's go to Jesse calling from Virginia. Jesse, you are on Free Talk Live.
What's going on, Captain?
I'm good, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, so if you remember, I've called in the past 2 nights, planning to visit New Hampshire this upcoming weekend, and I wanted to visit Keene.
Okay.
Wanted to visit Manchester and the coast as well.
Yep. All good ideas.
Yeah. So I've been trying to get into contact with people with the I think it's called the WeMe app that some of you guys use.
MeWe.
Yep, I'm on there.
Yeah, MeWe. Yeah. So I got in touch with one person from Manchester there, and then just looking to get in touch with other people from those other 3 areas. Is there a better way to do that?
Facebook.
Than just the MeWe app. Facebook. More people use Facebook.
Yeah, you can also join our Matrix. There's some information on how to join the Matrix up at freetalklive.com. I believe it's social.freetalklive.com. Sure. Where some of us are on Telegram as well. There's some things there. Also, there's a calendar, the Free State calendar, and then there's a Keene calendar.
FSP.org is the Free State. I don't know what the actual URL is, but if you go to FSP.org, there's likely going to be a link to the calendar of events on there.
And there will also be, I believe, a link to the one for Keene as well.
And I don't know what your schedule is or when you're coming up, but this week, Tuesday, 2 days from now, is the New Mover Party in Manchester.
Oh, that'd be a good one for you to attend if you can be there.
If you're going to be that early.
In Manchester. In Keene, if you're in Keene, over a weekend, there's a standing crypto meetup on Fridays at the Pho place, P-H-O. It's Pho Keene. Great is the name of the place. I have to be very careful how I say that. That's on Fridays. And then on Sundays, there's what we call Social Sunday at the same place. So 2 different meetups that are always attended by somebody, of the Mind of Freedom or in the Liberty community for you to connect with.
And if you're looking for the coast, the best place out there is like the Swell. I forget the URL. Just look for that. Look for that on Facebook. Swell, SWELL. It's like the Seacoast welcomes every Liberty lover.
And I think there's is it freekeen.com.org? Is it the blog site? That's
.com.
Yep.
Yeah, there should be some links there as well. I think there's some links up at freetalklive.com too, like the forum, and there's stuff in there like how to find the calendar for the Keen events that are going on. So
if you get over whatever like Facebook phobia you have, if you have any, there's a lot of different links on Facebook. And if you just find the regular, Free State Project group on Facebook, it has enough activity where if you were to put something out there, you're going to get a handful of responses from people who participate more greatly in those.
Right. And so, like, I've been looking at all the 3 different areas, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that...
Make it quick.
So the most activism is in, is that right?
I believe that is correct. And, hey, thanks for the call. Keep us informed about your journey. And
depends on the activism you're looking for.
Yeah, if we can help, let us know. This is Free Talk Live. More is coming up. Yeah, it is Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk program where you can talk about anything that's on your mind. The telephone number is 603-283-6160. Tonight I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on Library for years. Library is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, Library launched Odyssey, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffective YouTube creators.
You mean liars? Oh,
what?
Because they keep getting booted off of YouTube for false information.
Well, YouTube got bought by Google, and et cetera, and so on. So. Continue. No, I don't mean liars. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Like, really, like we stopped actually streaming to YouTube because
all you stream is false information.
Thankfully, Odyssey started offering live streaming, so now we're streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive that you watch, you'll help us to seed the video and keep it online forever. So please visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odyssey today. Video.freetalklive.com. All right, let's go to Charles calling from Kansas. Charles, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi. Yeah, I'm with you on the masks. In fact, I've thought of buying a Mickey Mouse mask and wearing that around. And I've also thought of, you know what hardware cloth is?
Hardware cloth? No.
It's like screen, except the squares are about a 1/4 inch square. You can find them in hardware stores.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, you're cutting out about a 4x4 inch square, hanging it on strings or wires from a set of sunglasses and wearing that around.
I'm pretty sure, is it Fake Mask USA?
Yeah,
they have the similar idea.
Fake Mask USA actually makes fake masks like you're talking about, Charles, where they're like basically just a screen with some strings on it. They also make gaiters, the nice. Like thing you put around your neck or whatever, kind of looks like a scarf until you pull it over your face, except it is also just a flexible screen. So it's fake mask. Yeah.
Sounds great. Anyway, my original point was I I guess what you're looking for is utopia, right? That's what you're looking for.
Well, I know I've seen Utopia. They're a horrible '80s band. They had one. They had one hit. I mean. A lot of folks actually think that when they hear about freedom-oriented individuals, they think, oh, this is kind of like, the left hippies, right? They're like, oh, you guys are looking for your hippie utopia. And like, we're not looking for utopia. What we're looking is for people to look at the means and the ends. Do the ends justify the means? No, they don't. We're asking people to look at the facts and the evidence, which people rarely do because people, speak and live through emotional reasons, right? And if you show people facts and evidence that this organization of tyrants and goons and thieves and all sorts of other things is horrible, that they're based on immorality, they are an evil organization, and we show them those facts and evidence, they often just recoil because it's an emotion. They're emotionally attached. They can't get over the emotion. So people often have to come to freedom sort of their own accord. You can't, say, hey, we've built this, you call it utopia, we've built this thing, and it's wonderful, you should come.
I don't even
and they
think
go,
utopia
no.
is a bad thing. It's a goal to work towards. You're never going to get there.
I think, it's an excellent goal. The only problem that I see is human nature. I mean,
sure.
For instance, how long do you think your show would last in Iran or Afghanistan, North Korea, or China?
You would be on pirate radio until they found the source, and then we would all be in the gulags.
Yep.
Yeah, because there are always going to be those individuals who want to live the high life without working.
But hopefully, after we get put in the gulags, right, someone else will pick up the mantle and continue.
But you see what I'm saying, right? I mean, there are always those, and there always have been.
Right, but we shouldn't give those people an institution in which to rule over other people and force other people to their preference. We should not do that at all, and that's what I'm saying, is there should be no institution in which these people... I can handle one Mao. I can handle one Hitler if I can deal with this individual on a person-to-person basis. I know they're a psychopath, and I can deal with them individually to my liking. It's when they have a whole frickin' institution in which to take over and force their preference on everybody else that we start seeing people die.
And the true believers.
How do you prevent that? How do you prevent that, though?
Well, everybody just has to agree that an organization based only on violence and coercion is wrong. And thank you for the call tonight, Charles. We appreciate it.
It's the dear leader and then the true believers.
I can't say it any differently. The organization itself is antique. It's barbaric. It is beyond barbaric. And it is brutal, more so than any other organization on planet Earth of all time.
And it's so interesting because I know so many people that agree on all that. They're like, yep, the government's bad. Like, they're doing all these evil things. They're murdering people. Taxation is theft, whatever. But then they'll turn around and say, well, we need them. Well, what about the roads? Or, people.
Cops, courts, and roads.
Yeah, and that's a big
what we
thing
need
too.
The government for.
A lot of the people will be like, no, we need cops. What's going to happen without cops? Well, a private... that leaves room in the free market for a private business to come in and to perform security. And then if they do a bad job and if they start, shooting puppies and physically assaulting people, then we can fire them.
Right.
So that was an interesting thing that came up when some of the politicians were pushing the defund the police thing.
Yeah.
And the police supporters, right, would point to the fact that, look at these politicians. They want to defund the police for you. But look, they have their own private security. Right. Ha! Yeah. I was like, great.
Yeah.
That's the model, right?
That's the solution.
You defund the police, you get rid of the publicly paid for brutality of the police force, and you move to private security for whomever, who wants
it. It is so easy for me to say, and it's difficult for most people to comprehend, and I'm speaking to you, Charles, along with anybody else who's listening, but everything government does is either a service or a product, right? And that includes like bombing people and murder, because
that's a service. Technically,
you're getting serviced, right? So, if you want to kill people, right? What organization do you go to for that? Now, everything is a product or service, and that means if it has value, people are willing to pay for that product or service. No government is necessary. Now, if those products or services go away, then that means they had no value in the first place.
Or not enough value to sustain an entire market.
Correct. 603-283-6160. We will get around to talking about Seinfeld and its reveal of authoritarianism here on Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. It is Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition. The telephone number here in the studio, if you'd like to join us in the conversations tonight, is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160.
This is your last chance. Last chance to call.
That's not true. We're here 7 nights a week from 7 p.m.
tonight.
until 10 p.m.
For tonight.
Yeah, so... Yeah.
Call now.
And if you're listening to us when it's not between 7 and 10 Eastern time, you can still call. Just call between 7 and 10 Eastern. Sometimes some of these radio stations will play, either 1 hour or 2 hours of the show, or they'll play the whole show, but not during the time we're actually broadcasting live. They'll do a rebroadcast or a rerun.
Or also get in on the Matrix chat, because the on-air room seems to be live no matter what time of day.
It's true.
I'm in there.
That thing it's like the Energizer Bunny, keeps going and going and going. If you've got insomnia, just jump in there and you don't even have to post, just read for a while.
Scroll. Yeah. Doom scroll.
Anyway, in the studio, it's myself, the Lord, Dr. Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
So finally, we get to talk about, what does Seinfeld have to do with revealing?
Nothing. It's a show about nothing. Nothing important ever happens on Seinfeld.
That's what they say.
That's the best part.
This is from FEE.org, or the Foundation for Economic Education. If you asked me what my favorite Seinfeld episode is, I'd have a hard time answering. There's just too many winners. Many would say the best
and they all
ever.
Run together.
Many would say the best ever is The Contest, the Emmy Award-winning episode where Jerry and company compete to see who is the master of their domain. And who can forget The Soup Nazi, or The Merv Griffin Show, or Kenny Rogers' Chicken?
Or when Kramer turns his house or his apartment with levels. Levels, Jerry.
I'm not as big of a fan of this show as some people are. So if it was on, I watched it, but I didn't go out of my way. I wasn't like, I'm like, oh, Seinfeld, I got to go. Seinfeld's going to be on. I wasn't that kind of guy.
I've got the entire series on DVD.
So you would be a foremost expert.
Not an expert, but I have seen them all.
I didn't say an expert. Okay. I said an expert.
Okay. Yeah, an expert then. Not a foremost anything. As far as expertise,
well,
I just
you're
enjoy
the
show.
freemost expert amongst, unless you're a bigger fan of Seinfeld than he is. No?
He's got me beat.
Okay.
I just enjoy the show. It's hilarious.
Hey, don't be beating on our co-hosts, okay? She said...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Over your head?
No, I was going to, the opposite of on, when you said beating on, and I held back on that one.
Thank you for holding back. The article continues, personally, I've always been a fan of The Race, the one where Elaine is dating a communist who feeds Kramer a bunch of socialist propaganda that ends up getting Kramer and his sidekick Mickey fired from their Santa elf gig at Coleman's department store. All of these are worthy of discussion for belonging in the Seinfeld pantheon. I bust a gut laughing at each one, but one of the most instructive scenes, one fitting for our times, comes from an episode called The Sponge, where Kramer decides to participate in an AIDS walk to support charity.
Noble cause.
Like a good Samaritan, Kramer shows up to walk to support the cause, AIDS awareness. Things take a turn, however, when he declines to wear an AIDS ribbon.
Why would he do that?
Here's how it goes. Volunteer, you're checked in. Here's your AIDS ribbon. Kramer, no thanks. Volunteer, you don't want to wear an AIDS ribbon? Kramer, no. Volunteer, but you have to wear an AIDS ribbon. Kramer, I have to? Volunteer, yes. Kramer, yeah, see, that's why I don't want to. Volunteer, but
he's
everyone.
He's a contrarian. That's all he is.
Like you, Richard?
Maybe. I like Kramer.
The volunteer says, but everyone wears the ribbon. You must wear the ribbon. Kramer says, you know what you are? You're a ribbon bully. And he walks away. The volunteer, hey, you, come back here and put this on. Does that sound familiar?
Sounds a little familiar.
Chased around a store, put a mask on, maybe a little bit.
The peer pressure Kramer receives is funny because it's strange but also relatable. You don't have to be a hard-nosed libertarian immersed in Rothbard and Mises to see there is human tendencies to fanatically push conformity, even in matters of symbolism, and perhaps especially so.
You don't say.
Right. The story doesn't end there.
Okay, carry on.
Pledge allegiance to the swoosh of the United States of Nike and to the sports shoe for which it stands. Right. Doing parodies.
One nation made in China.
One shoe under God. With the sole kind of worn out. With unbreakable shoestrings for all.
I wish.
All right, I finished that one. The story doesn't end there, however, talking about Seinfeld again. The writers explore just how intense the impulse to make others conform can be as Kramer begins his charity walk in a scene that is simultaneously dark and hilarious. The walker number 1, says, hey, where's your ribbon? Kramer says, I don't wear one. Walker number 2, you don't wear the ribbon? Aren't you against AIDS? Kramer, yeah, I'm against AIDS. I'm walking, aren't I? I just don't want to wear the ribbon. Walker number 3, who do you think you are? Walker number 4, put the ribbon on. Walker 2, hey, Cedric, Bob, this guy won't wear a ribbon. Bob, who? Who won't wear the ribbon? I mean, it sounds like the mob's about to gang up on Kramer to me.
They do. They chase him.
The scene is a great example of mob mentality. Kramer, who is walking in support of AIDS awareness, is browbeaten by his peers despite his actual support of the cause. The ribbon bullies don't care that Kramer is walking in support of the same cause they are. All they can see is he's not wearing the ribbon.
Yep.
The scene ends up with the ribbon-wearing walkers beating Kramer up in an alley, as Richie Rich pointed out.
That's what it feels like being a nurse after working in COVID units for the past almost 2 years and now getting fired for being unvaccinated.
Yep.
Yeah.
And getting replaced by military personnel
that
in
are
some places.
unvaccinated. They're not even vaccinated.
Really?
Don't even get me started.
Really?
Or do.
The National Guard aren't, the replacements are not vaccinated?
So I think their deadline to get vaccinated is like next June.
Okay.
So they might be, but they don't have to be.
They're not necessarily vaccinated at this point.
And it's unclear whether they're medically trained. But also the medical training that you would get in the National Guard, I'm sure, is a lot different than nursing.
Yeah, military medical training instead of...
Yeah. Like, this isn't a war zone. These are just, like, old people who are coming back from surgery.
Well, and I've said it before, and it bears repeating, of course, that in any other situation prior to all of this craziness that governments are doing the globe over surrounding COVID, in any other situation labeled as a pandemic, okay, military might end up helping civilian hospitals with overages or triage, or something might have happened where like maybe the staff at the hospital has come down with whatever the illness is and that kind of thing. So in any other situation, sure,
in support of the already existing infrastructure,
right? In support of that might occur. It certainly would not be because you just fired a bunch of people first.
Yeah, makes no sense.
Right.
And not to mention, the staffing shortages we're already facing in healthcare is ridiculous. Yeah. I know there's one day on the next schedule for next month that came out that I looked, and on my unit for my shift, they only have 2 nurses scheduled, and it takes at least 8 nurses to staff the floor. So where are these other 6 nurses going to come from?
Nope, you just bear the extra burden of responsibility that night.
No, they're forcing people to stay in a whole nother extra shift because they can't legally make you take care of more people. But it's just ridiculous. You know, we already don't have enough help, and they're going to fire more people.
Well,
it makes no sense at all.
Yeah. Fire the people who are not compliant, right, and then bring in the military who, by their very nature, are forced into compliance.
Yeah.
So they replace the ne'er-do-wells, the dissidents, with true believers.
Again, if this were, anything else defined as a pandemic, they're not going to staff military personnel for this reason, because you're firing people. You don't fire healthcare workers, trained healthcare workers, specialty workers in a pandemic. You just don't do it. More Free Talk Live is on the way. Final segment here at Free Talk Live on the Sunday night edition. If you've missed any part of the show, well, we're here 7 days a week. If you want to call in and take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever's on your mind, you can do so between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
And we're going to continue talking a little bit about this Seinfeld episode.
We have no choice.
Where they... No, we have choice.
Oh, okay.
We always have choice.
Okay. What are the choices then?
The choice is for me to first say thank you to tonight's amplifier, Lord Porcupine. I just love saying it like that. I don't know why. Lord Porcupine. I'm like Foghorn Leghorn or something. Now, I say, Lord Porcupine is our amplifier for this evening. Lord Porcupine is a platinum level amplifier, which means he gives $25 a month to the AMP program over at amp.freetalklive.com.
He should if he's a lord. Oh, that land.
I'm also
title.
a lord,
I know.
So,
whole square foot.
Hey, better than no foot.
True.
At any rate, you're probably asking yourself, what is an amplifier? Well, it's 2 things. One, it's something a guitar player plugs into, but it's also advertise, market, and promote, AMP. That's what it stands for when referring to Free Talk Live. And this money specifically goes to help get this particular radio talk program onto more radio stations. We're on around 180. We could be on 200. We could be down 250, maybe 300. It's not out of the question. It's all up to you. If you want to help spread the message of peace, liberty, freedom, self-determination, if you like the hosts and co-hosts that we have here rotating, if you've gotten value out of this program, please consider becoming an amplifier and help us spread the message over at amp.freetalklive.com. Thank you again, Lord Porcupine. You are appreciated. All right, so Seinfeld. So in this episode of Seinfeld, Kramer was running for the cause of AIDS awareness. And instead of everybody just sort of welcoming him to the race and being like, oh, glad you're here, whatever, they noticed he wasn't wearing the ribbon.
How can they know he's really for AIDS awareness if he doesn't display it outwardly on his body?
Because he would be running with them in the running event.
No, that's not good enough.
That's not good enough. You can run all you want. He could be a subversive.
He could be.
Running, but not,
Could be. But it should be enough. Should be enough that, dudes, running alongside of you, that should be the show of, his commitment to this particular cause. That he's there, he's participating in the event just like everybody else is, with the exception of not wearing the badge. And then when he's told that he has to, he replies with something that I think needs to be used by more people in today's society. That's exactly why I don't want to wear it.
No, when I make a charitable donation to an organization, I make sure I get a receipt and I staple that to my shirt.
And run around and be like, look, everybody.
Look at me. I've done the thing.
I guess I shouldn't do that with well, whatever. So the article here from FEE continues.
Dang Goldback salesman.
How does this, relate to today's society, specifically the pandemic and the stone throwers?
Is it not clear?
Watching Kramer get beaten up in an alley for not wearing a ribbon is funny because it's Seinfeld, But the writers of the show are also revealing a very dark side of human nature that is very real. The great American individualist Ralph Waldo Emerson once observed how humanity treats those who don't conform to the collective. For nonconformity, the world whips you with its displeasure, Emerson wrote. Emerson may have been echoing Voltaire, who saw, "Our wretched species is so made that those who walk on the well-trodden path always throw stones at those who are showing a new road."
Yep.
This is true even in the best of times, but in the worst of times, the behavior gets even uglier.
So they say pioneers get shot in the back.
Right.
Yep.
Perhaps then it's no surprise that the pandemic has unleashed a level of anger and hostility against those who choose to follow his or her own conscience instead of the decrees of the collective. The healthy person who declines to wear a mask in a grocery store is treated much like Cosmo Kramer. You don't want to wear a mask? But you have to wear a mask. Who do you think you are? Put the mask on. Interestingly, not wearing a mask is not an actual sin. We saw celebrities and politicians galore flout this supposedly necessary medical precaution with nary a peep.
Barack Obama's birthday party? Remember that? Or the Met Gala?
Yeah. What about Fauci himself sitting at like a baseball game with his mask down?
When they get caught on camera prior to the actual public unveiling, they're all unmasked. Then as soon as they think the camera's on,
okay, action.
Put the mask on.
Yep. And we routinely see our supposed leaders remove them when they believe the cameras have stopped. Saying masks are not necessary or suggesting healthy individuals should decide for themselves whether to wear one is the true heresy here.
Even unhealthy individuals should decide whether to choose to wear one.
Right.
It's still your choice.
And this, of course, invites shame and ridicule or gaslighting, for example.
Yep.
Shame is a big motivator for a lot of people, man. You don't want to be shamed by your peers. That's,
I don't want to be shamed by my beers, but my peers, whatever, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Choosing to not get vaccinated carries an even greater risk of social stigma and shame. Kramer received a beating for not wearing the AIDS button, but many have suggested the unvaccinated deserve much worse. I don't know if you guys have seen this on your social medias or even in your life where you're like, I hope you get COVID and die.
Yeah, if it only saves one life. But you should die.
That's totally the antithesis of if what you're getting at is supposedly for people's health and well-being and to keep their own, then you really shouldn't wish that they die.
Yeah, you would think.
It's done. I forget the term for it. It's similar to cognitive dissonance, but it's basically validation that they made the right choice.
Yeah, they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be like, oh, I made the wrong choice. Oh my God.
And the only way to do that is to get. It's one of the only way to do that is to get people to make the similar choice as you, which is, partially how some unscrupulous organizations work, right? They get you involved at a high dollar value and then tell you to recruit your friends, right? Because if you can recruit your friends and they join, then you've justified your purchase much in the same way. If they poo-poo on you and they go no, this is dumb, you should not have done that. Well, then you feel even worse about your choice because you don't have that validation.
Extremism can take many forms, but it's important to understand that Seinfeld's ribbon enforcers and the COVID bullies share a common trait. Both groups are absolutely convinced that what they're doing is good.
True believers. Said it earlier. I'll repeat it.
The problem is good intentions mean very little. The 20th century was the bloodiest century in human history, largely because many humans sought to create a better world by instituting an economic system they believed would solve human problems. Socialism. The allure to enforce that, which is seen as good, is a powerful one, but an evil one. And it's why the French philosopher Bertrand de Jouvenel said tyranny lurks in the womb of every utopia. The great economist, philosopher, and FEE founder Leonard Read understood this, which is why he believed a hard look at ends and means was necessary to determine whether any action was right or wrong. Ends, goals, aims are but the hope for things to come, Reed observed. Many of the most monstrous deeds in human history have been perpetuated in the name of doing good in pursuit of some noble goal. They illustrate the fallacy that the end justifies the means. Examine carefully the means employed, judging them in terms of right and wrong, and the end will take care of itself.
So some apply that a little bit to the freedom movement, right? Because we're, can fall into that same trap.
Sure.
But much like the freedom movement, like I said earlier, moving towards utopia, not a bad thing. It's a goal, right? I don't have a problem with socialists moving toward a socialist utopia amongst themselves.
Well,
Just
right.
don't involve me.
That's always the thing about, whatever the freedom movement people, their philosophies actually allow for something like voluntary socialism to
libertarian
exist,
socialism. Go for it,
to
guys.
exist within the society. But socialism does not allow for libertarians to exist in their society.
Right.
So they're within. I mean, that alone, in and of itself, should be the end of the examination of the means and the ends. That should be the end of it. Which one allows the other one to exist within it?
But one
That's
cannot.
a great point.
Yeah. Capitalism or free markets, right? That overarching umbrella that allows everything underneath it to do on their own voluntarily.
Yeah. If a whole bunch of people want to get together and buy a big-ass plot of land and get together and have a commune and be socialist amongst themselves, no problem.
No problem.
No problem.
Leave
I'm
me out
not
of
going
it.
to come along. I'm not going to force you to not do it.
I'm also not going to join.
Right. We're out of time for tonight. If you missed any of the episode, check out archives over at freetalklive.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Peace.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover springs her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.